it's time for the adventures of Indiana Jim. This has been the adventures of Indiana Jim!
Hey there, folks. I'm Walter Benaziac.
I'm Heather Roos.
And I'm Anna Wade.
And this is Top 5. Last week we took a look at Indiana Jones' best movie moments, but we all know that this series has some major flaws.
Crystal Skull.
You okay, buddy? What's that?
Oh, yeah, I'm just feeling a little congested. Chucks! Oh, I'm sorry. No. You know what? I'm not sorry. Crystal Skull sucks.
It does. All three of us agree that it does. I remember being so disappointed seeing this in theaters for the first time, and from beginning to end, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is just as bad now as it was when it was released in 2008.
But the question is, do all 5 of the worst moments in the franchise belong to the 4th installment?
Yes.
No, don't spoil it.
Whatever. These are the top 5 worst Indiana Jones movie moments. Number 5.
3.
Nuclear bombs are one of the deadliest weapons that humans have ever created. It will decimate everything in its path. Except a refrigerator, apparently. I understand that there is a certain level of suspension of disbelief that is required for an Indiana Jones movie. Indy has been on plenty of unbelievable, unsurvivable adventures, but this is too far. KGB agents have kidnapped Indy and taken him to a US military base with a warehouse full of ancient treasures that was seen at the end of Raiders. So much for that mystery. He, of course, escapes and ends up being chased through a fake town built for nuclear testing. The countdown begins and Indiana must find a way to survive. He spots a fridge that is lined with lead that should protect him from the blast and radiation. This actually doesn't bother me too much. Seems like there was some kind of logical thought that Indy might be able to protect himself within a lead-lined box. The next part is what really gets me. After the blast, the fridge goes flying through the air over the bad guy's car just as it is destroyed. It tumbles multiple times down a hill until it comes to a stop. Indy just rolls out, completely unscathed. Really? Not a single injury? And how did that fridge even stay shut through all of that? There is absolutely no way he would have been alive after that, not even considering that it was a nuclear blast. Guess it's good to know that all refrigerated foods would be safe and unirradiated after a nuclear disaster. Number 4. What are some of your biggest fears?
Spiders.
Clowns.
The creeping feeling of darkness.
Dino Rob's return to plague us all.
How about ants?
Sure.
I guess.
Indiana and the gang are being chased through the forest. They crash right into the home of some
Big damn ants!
Everyone makes a run for it before the ants can get them. One of the KGB guards falls to the ants and is eaten by them. Indy, Oxley, and a KBG agent are left behind to fight amongst the killer ants. Oxley falls and reveals the crystal skull to the ants, who then make a rather large area for Indy to fight the KGB agent. It might make sense for the ants to avoid the skull if it did have some kind of otherworldly power, but why would they make such a large arena for them to fight in? Meanwhile, the woman has found higher ground, so the ants build a living pyramid to reach her. Only one of the ants makes it to her, and she squashes it with her thighs and gets ant blood all over the camera. It looks incredibly fake and dumb. Back in the ant-made fight ring, Indy is losing the battle until the other guy lets him get his hat, I guess? He just completely stops fighting and watches as Indiana grabs a tree branch to beat him with until he unconsciously falls into the sea of ants, who then swarm him and take him to their nest. It's another nonsensical, lackluster scene in an already troubled movie.
Number 3.
Chilled monkey brains.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it really distracting to try to listen to me talking while they're eating gross stuff in the background? Yeah, no kidding. In the Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones meets with the Thuggee cult. His traveling companions Willie and Short Round must sample the local cuisine. They are served snake surprise, beetles, and chilled monkey brains for dessert. Willie's over-the-top reactions are meant to show just how cool and calm Indiana stays throughout the film, and this scene is no different. However, the humor doesn't play here, and it distracts from the exposition happening between Indy and one of the cult leaders. The gross-out humor is redundant since we see them having to walk on bugs later, and we have plenty of other examples of Willie not handling change well. The film was originally set to film in India, but with the caveat of local government's final approval of the script. Many audiences assumed this spread was meant to portray typical Indian meals, and unfortunately, it comes off as racially muddled, and simply put, it has not aged well.
Number 2. There's a lot to unpack here. The Russians and Indy's gang are in a high-speed chase through the jungle. They're both desperate to hold on to the crystal skull as it pops back and forth from the vehicles they're driving. After a sword fight with Colonel Spalko, Mutt Williams is hung up on a vine as the chase continues without him. Moments later, he swings back in like Tarzan to attack the bad guys with some new monkey friends of his. I want to talk about Shia LaBeouf. First, there's always going to be a certain fondness for me in seeing him do anything on the big screen. Growing up with Even Stevens, I will always be rooting for Shia to do well. Now, having said that, I think we all know Shia being cast as the son of Indiana Jones was way off base. The character of Mutt Williams was not written well, presented well, or played well. He's a drag on an already horrible movie. I don't know what David Coop and Steven Spielberg were thinking when coming up with Mutt, but whatever they were trying to accomplish, it failed. I think this moment in particular solidified his place in indie infamy. The artificial environment of the jungle already put a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and the vines and monkeys were just insult to injury. Having Mutt literally swing on them until he reached the cars was too much ridiculousness to handle. Not to say that the good Indiana Jones movies don't have their fair share of ridiculous stunts, but this felt about 10 miles past that line. I gotta mention the Jumanji monkeys too. This was 2008, not 1995. There's no excuse for how bad this CG was. Combine all those elements together and you absolutely have the second worst moment in franchise history.
It's time for another adventure with Indiana Jim.
Hey! Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle! Fuck yeah! Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle! Woo! Yeah! You're right, yeah!
This has been the adventures of Indiana Jim.
And the number one worst Indiana Jones movie moment is...
I want to know. I want to know. Tell me. I'm ready. I want to know.
Actually, I don't think I want to know. This is basically the whole ending of the movie. From when Colonel Spalko is infused with the alien knowledge to the alien itself showing up and Indiana Jones standing in front of a giant flying saucer. All of it. All of it is the worst moment. This is supposed to be the climax of the film, and none of it feels earned. The pacing of the whole story from start to finish was a jumbled mess. It was confusing, it was baffling, and even incoherent at some parts. That alien showing up and taking Spalko with it to the space between spaces felt like a more than watered down callback to the arc opening from Raiders or Donovan rapidly aging in The Last Crusade. This whole movie actually kind of feels neutered like that, but it was especially obvious here. And the aliens thing in general. Look, I used to absolutely hate that aliens were the main part of the plot in an Indiana Jones movie. That's so stupid, I used to think. That doesn't fit at all, I used to say. Years later, upon deeper thought, my views have changed on that end slightly. If utilized correctly, aliens could have absolutely fit in with the Indiana Jones aesthetic. I understand they were going for the 50s UFO flick vibe here, and in theory, that could have worked. However, the execution is atrocious. There wasn't a sufficient amount of time to build up the mystery of the aliens or even introduce them into this world. We start the movie on the Russians making Indy dig one up at the fan service facility. Where's the build? Where's the logical sequence of events? This was a cluster of crap. And that's why, by the time we get to the end of the movie and we see that shot of Indy watching the flying saucer come to life from beneath the temple, it feels so wrong. And it still feels wrong. It's out of place not because it's an alien spacecraft, but because they failed to make an interesting enough concept with the proper time for us to care and somewhat understand. That's the main reason why Indy 4 sucks in my book, but hey, 3 out of 4 ain't bad, right? If this 5th movie is ever really going to happen, I hope they learn from their mistakes and deliver something we all can once again enjoy. Make sure you guys check out my new show, Fanscription. In it, we theorize how things would have played out if big events in film history took a different turn. In our first episode, we ask, what if Apollo Creed survived his fight with Ivan Drago in Rocky IV? That episode is up now, right here on Channel Awesome. Also, speaking of Indiana Jones type adventure movies, you guys remember Vernon Wells from Commando, Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, and Power Rangers Time Force? Well, I'm in a movie with him. Yes, really, and yes, that's my real hair. It's called City of Gold, and it will be available on Amazon, Hulu, iTunes, Google Play, and more on Tuesday, December 4th, with a DVD release on January 1st, 2019. If you're in the UK, the movie is already out under the title The Lost City of Gold. I have an interview up with the director of the film over on my personal channel now, so check that out for more information, or go straight to cityofgoldthemovie.com to pre-order.
We want to hear what you guys think. What's your least favorite Indiana Jones movie moment?
What do you want to see us cover next on the show? Leave a comment and let us know.
To keep in touch, you can like my Facebook page or follow along on Twitter.
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or subscribe to my animated movie review series right here on YouTube.
And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Twitch, where I stream on Wednesday nights.
We'll catch you right back here next week with something a little more seasonal on a brand new episode of Top 5.